a lot of people were saying Taylor during the mailbox challenge, like he really stood on business. No, the fuck he didn't. That nigga didn't stand on shit. Hello gorgeous, it is Ethereal Mother, your favorite psychic, artist, and astrologer. So today we're going to be talking about Love Island because the way that this parasocial parasite has attached itself to me is insane. And to be real, I wasn't gonna watch it until I saw Meg Thee Stallion, and I was like, you know, I gotta check it out. so I have been obsessed ever since then. NicOlandria stands, rise. It is our time to shine. It's been a very interesting roller coaster, but so today, let me focus. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to be breaking down some of the couples and their birth charts. Again, we do not have their birth times, but I did my best with what I got. So let's start off. Oh, also I was gonna do Amaya, but she has not been with Brian for very long, so it's kind of hard to dissect their full dynamic. Comment down below if you would like me to do that breakdown maybe in another video. But until then, let's get into some of the OG couples. So we got Huda and Jeremiah. First thing. Concerned. So Huda has her sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Virgo. Venus is a question mark only because it's at the 29th degree, and I'm like, if she was born later in the day, she actually might have her Venus in Libra. So we'll just, but I do believe that she is a Libra moon because when I first watched her, it was giving pick me energy. And every single Libra that I have met, they give pick-me energy until they have like this evolutionary process and they kind of understand themselves a little bit better. I remember seeing that she was a Virgo and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I think that when you look at Chelley, she is a better example of how Virgo energy expresses itself when it comes down to like a personality, because she's very grounded, she knows who she is, and the biggest thing is she does not chase. She does not chase. She is very grounded in who she is. And Virgo is an earth sign, so that's why I was like, Huda being a Virgo, there's something else going on there. But I think the way that her Virgo energy shows up is the fact that she's very strategic. And the easiest way to kind of explain that is like every single time her and Jeremiah would kind of get into an argument, her strategy is to either go to victim mentality or she would use sex to kind of keep him where she wanted. It's definitely like a manipulation tactic. And also she's very critical. Virgos can be very, very critical. Sometimes it can be overly critical to where it's like annoying, but then there's other times where it's like a teacher trying to help you out with your math homework. Like it's a different type of criticism depending on the Virgo and their personality and everything like that. So like Jeremiah and them damn pancakes, he just could not catch a break. And he made several comments about that. He was like, the way that you nitpick, I don't like that. And it's just, and nobody likes that. That's a hard thing to kind of hear all the time.
I do one thing that you don't like and you disregard everything I've done. I'm always, look at me, I'm always making you breakfast.
That's not what I'm talking about.
And then also Virgos have a lot of like high expectations. Like they kind of like have very specific details about how they want things to kind of play out for them. And I thought it was interesting because I did feel like Huda showed signs of like jealousy towards Chelley, because Chelley just existed and you had niggas bringing her pancakes all the time. Like she barely, like she didn't know where anything was in the kitchen. that's how much like people have, a lot of the men in the villa have like served her in some capacity. And Ace has these like beautiful ways of showing Chelley that he loves her and stuff like that. And we'll get into Chelley and Ace later in the video, but she definitely wanted Jeremiah to be on that level. But the thing is, it's because she uses sex as a strategy. Jeremiah kind of thought like, I feel like I'm doing enough. Like I'm making you the pancakes. I don't know if he planned dates in the same way that Ace did. I don't know. But it's like, if we're having sex and everything like that, like I feel like everything's okay. And then at the most random time, you're critiquing something that I'm doing wrong. So it was frustrating. And you can see that he was very, very frustrated with trying to navigate this relationship with her.
I thought you were gonna do more this week.
In terms of?
I mean, you like them.
Oh, I haven't shown her.
You did say that though.
But they both jump into this very quickly, so hey. And again, sometimes Virgos can be very, again, critical, like they're critical of other people and judgmental of other people, but that shows also what's happening internally. Like she was very critical of herself and also not as confident as you would expect her to be. Like I remember Hannah talked about in her interview how Huda asked her, how do you get the guys to like you? And Hannah was like, I just be myself. Like Huda doesn't know how to allow men to kind of pursue her. Again, with this pick me energy with the Libra, it's all about like being in love with love and not so much like what do I need to do to have harmony in this connection. And also Libra moons or Libra placements have a tendency to manipulate things to have some sort of control over the situation in order to kind of correct the scales to have balance. But it's like you're manipulating things and you should just let things be and exist. And Huda hasn't quite figured that out yet. And again, you have like Chelley, where it's like Chelley just be doing her thing. I think Huda is a bit annoyed that a lot of the girls can kind of just exist like that and they can get whatever they want. They don't have to bend over backwards or overanalyze, overcalculate, manipulate the situation to get what they want or to get a man. And again, she just comes off very male-centered. And again, I feel like Libra energy can kind of lean too far into that energy, which is not too good. Like the scales are completely unbalanced when it comes down to what a healthy connection should look like for them. Huda also has her Mars in Leo, and I think this shows her competitive nature, and it really expresses itself when like the new bombshells come in, and in those moments where she moves really selfishly, when it's like and again, there's Virgo energy and kind of like the Libra energy in a way as well. It's like you strategically place expectations on how you wanted the girls to move in the villa, right? Don't touch Jeremiah, don't look at him, don't breathe in his direction, all that. Everyone agreed to that and moved accordingly. And so when it's your turn to reciprocate those same expectations, you act confused and like, oh my God, I didn't know I had to kiss Pepe after that challenge. I mean, at the end of that challenge, and it was like, you did know, and you still chose him. You even pulled him for a chat, and that annoyed Hannah. It was just weird. So it's just, and again, she has this very competitive energy against other women because it's like her value is tied to what a man thinks and how he feels about her. And it's like if she's not getting this attention and everything like that, it's like she can't compute that she's. It's odd and fascinating, and I don't know. I don't know if I said this, but I really do hope that she kind of looks over this season, looks at herself and analyzes it and tries to get some therapy. A lot of the Virgos that I know, they're very solution oriented, so I hope that she would try to do something a little bit different. But then again, I don't follow her, so it is what it is. But again, like I said, that Mars coming in and you have the Virgo like strategically bullying the girls to be a girl's girl and to stay away from Jeremiah or whoever you're dating, but then playing the victim when you overstep your boundaries with the other guys, even though you know that they're in a pretty serious connection with other people. Like her putting her fucking ass in Ace's face. Like you knew that was not going to go over well. It was too much. Like Chelley said, did you want his heart to stop? Like, what did you want? And again, like I said, with that Virgo and Libra energy, like setting these expectations and not following through. There was the kiss with Pepe. They were sitting on Ace's face. It's just a challenge. Okay. Like I said, Libra women can be very, very male-centered. Like when she asked Chris, like, if I was ugly, would it make it better? And it's like, it's not about you being ugly. You sat on your friend's man's face. And yes, they're not closed off, but it's damn near. And unevolved Libra moons, they can be very boy crazy, like teenage type of boy crazy. It's very interesting. Also, Libra represents open enemies. I feel like a lot of the women, when it comes down to her getting male attention, she views other women as enemies. And that's why it's really difficult to kind of be empathetic, because I feel like she's playing this very, very strange game. And the way that she will kind of either get very defensive and aggressive, the fact that she does not have a lot of friends at home. You know, there's a lot of things where I'm like, I think you might be the common denominator in this thing. But sometimes I love Virgos, but sometimes they feel like they know everything. So it's challenging to kind of get them to see that maybe you need to fix this thing, because it's like, I'm perfect. What are you talking about? But then again, it is a facade, because Virgos, like I said, are very hypercritical of themselves as well. Okay, so let's move on to Jeremiah. So I noticed off rip, he is a Taurus, and he also has his Venus in Taurus. But first and foremost, he is a Taurus, and typically Taurus men, just Taurus in general, can be very territorial. So I think that was very interesting that he kind of became very territorial over Huda from jump. Now, I don't know if that's because he had the 100K in mind or if he genuinely did have a connection with her, but I do think that Venus energy, which is like Taurus and Libra, can fall for the aesthetics of something without really like thinking about the functionality of how that connection can really play out in their life. And so, and again, like I said, he has a Venus in Taurus, Venus being women, Taurus being aesthetics. I think that he typically goes for women who look aesthetically pleasing. But again, it's like, I feel like he probably jumps very quickly into connections. I don't know what his dating life is outside of the island. I don't know. But I'm wondering if he jumps in very quickly and then it's like, it jumps in quickly and then asks questions later. So I'm kind of curious about that, because again, yes, Huda was very aggressive when Jeremiah was on the island, but I also think they were both at fault when it came down to both of them moving in so quickly, both of them not understanding each other's communication style because they jumped in so quickly. Like, there was a lot of things that both of them needed to really like flesh out before basically being in a relationship, you know, on day 1 or 2, you know. Jeremiah was very territorial from jump. And then Huda was also territorial because she would put hickeys on his neck when the new bombshells would come in. Another thing is he has his moon in Gemini. I think that the way that Huda spoke to him again was unacceptable with the nitpicking and critiquing and stuff like that. But I think that he likes people who can communicate and make him feel safe, and someone who he can communicate his feelings with and again make him feel safe, being that safe space for him. And you know, all of his like being able to talk about his like quirky interests and stuff like that. And Huda just could not be that. Like, I don't think that she knows how to have a normal conversation with a guy without inserting criticisms or sex or something like that. It's just it's so off-putting to watch. It's very uncomfortable to watch, in all honesty. And also Jeremiah, I did feel like he was very dependent on other people's opinions about his connection, and it was like, maybe you just need to kind of sit and just kind of think about it for a second. But again, they jumped in so quickly, so what can you really do in this type of situation? It's very, very interesting to watch, I must say. So let's move on to Huda and Chris. Like I said before, she is a Virgo, so she moves very strategically, and she would say specific things to Chris in order to get him to like commit to her. Like, it was after one challenge, I can't remember which one, and she was like, I'm surprised no guys wanted to kiss me in the challenge. And Chris was like, why? And she was like, because we're not closed off. And she wanted that to be a moment where Chris would be like, you know what, let's close, you know, like she really wanted him to do that. But again, it's so funny because Libra placement, or people who are being overly strategic, or women who are not emotionally sound, just people, let me not say women, people in general, I don't think they understand that people can see when you're trying to manipulate them. I know one Libra in particular, and she has a Pisces moon, and she moves like that, and it's like, girl, we can see you, like we can see what you're doing. And I think that's very much Huda. I also think that it's interesting because Virgo is directly across from Pisces. Pisces is known for self-sabotaging. Now, Pisces is self-sabotaging in the sense that it kind of pays attention to the big picture, like the fantasy, the illusion, the delusion of it. But with Huda or Virgo energies, it's a bit different because they overanalyze every single little detail. So again, like I said, like the way that she's analyzing every detail detail. She's not fully present in the conversations. She's so ready to be defensive and to rebuttal, which is annoying. And it also seems like she does not want to improve. Like it's almost like she can see that there's an issue, but she doesn't know how to fix it, but she's also not willing to fix it because she won't be open. She won't be, it's so, it's a lot. So it's just like, it's one of those things where she's gonna have to figure things out for herself. Don't know when that's gonna be, but I think that she definitely needs to be single until she figures that out. Because I'm like, you throwing coochie to the wind is never gonna get you what you want. Okay, so let's talk about Chris. So he also has a Libra moon. Again, like I said, we don't have birth times, but it's giving Libra moon. Something about him feels very pick-me-ish because he does not want to chase. And it's interesting because he's an Aries, so I feel like, I don't know, because the thing was, he was originally interested in Chelley because, when you think about the 2 pancakes and a flower, he consistently showed that. But it seemed as if when there was competition and when he realized that like Chelley does not chase, she will not chase a man, he kind of gave up. And I feel like he went to Huda as the easy option to like settle with her. And it's like, you can tell that he really enjoyed his conversations with Chelley because there was a nice banter. She's very funny, very witty. But with conversations with Huda, it's like you have to help her emotionally regulate, and that could be very exhausting for anybody, whether it's like a family member, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. So it was just a lot. And so again, him being a Libra moon, I think he really does enjoy connections where there is a lot of harmony and balance and open communication. Libra is an air sign too. However, he has his Venus in Pisces. Venus being relationships, Pisces being addiction. Something about him feels like he's addicted to toxic relationships, because I remember in the very beginning when him and Huda were in the speakeasy and he said that he attracts emotionally unstable women. Now, what do emotionally unstable women do? They chase. So I think that's also the reason why he chose Huda, because he knew it was just an easy option. I just thought that was interesting. And again, it could potentially be his Aries placements too. Like, he likes to have conflict. Again, Aries is definitely conflict, arguments, things like that. But again, the way that he does speak with her, it feels like he does try to communicate with her, be very gentle with her. But at the end of the day, there's only but so much you can do. And I think in the most recent episode, I think it's episode 32, we definitely see that. It's like he's genuinely trying to have a conversation, but she keeps interrupting, and it's like, girl. Also was that the same episode? Whatever episode they were playing basketball, Chris talked about how he can be very avoidant in his relationships. I think that definitely shows Venus and Pisces, because Pisces can be very evasive. It's like the 2 fish, like you can't catch it. And there were so many moments where he could have been open about how he was feeling about, a specific situation, or him and Huda were like having an argument or something like that, and he didn't tell his side. And I'm like, why? And again, I don't know if he does this in his typical relationships, or is this something that he's just doing with Huda to get to that 100K. I personally will do whatever I can to make sure he doesn't touch that 100K. I don't think he deserves it. No shade. No, that was shady. No, I meant that to be shade. I take back that apology. But again, like, Venus wants to have like harmony and balance in their relationship. Venus energy wants to have harmony and balance in relationships. But again, Venus energy, like Libra and Taurus, they want to have harmony, balance, grounded energy within their connections. But it's like, if it's in Pisces, it's like you can't really wiggle your way around these tough conversations. You're gonna have to have them eventually. And he knows this about himself, so that's a start. I did think it was interesting that Chris has his Sun and Mars in Aries, and then you have Huda, who has her Mars in Leo. Both energies are very competitive. Both energies can give like romance and sexual passion and chemistry, but when it comes down to power plays, it's a chop. And I feel like both of them, like in that one argument where they were having, and he was like, "Don't boss me around," and she was like, "I just did." It's a bit too combative, and it's like, again, the soft and gentle approach that Chris tries to give her is getting exhausting. And I think we definitely saw that in episode 32, which was very funny. And again, with Huda, it's also that Leo and Mars, it's a competition, because when she kissed Chris in the speakeasy, that was when he was like heavily debating on if he wanted to still pursue Chelley. And so I think in that moment, it was like, let me just pick Chelley. And I think this was also after the 2 pancakes and a flower, if I'm not mistaken. mistaken. Please let me know now in the comments, because I can't remember. The timeline is fuzzy in my mind right now, but I just thought that was interesting. Again, she's competing, she's playing this game. It's like, I want you to save me from myself, I'm so sad. It's a whole game for her, and again, it doesn't work out, because it's like, you're not being your authentic self in this connection. And again, she just be throwing her coochie to the wind, and it's like your coochie and your mind are not tethered together. And that's why, like, every single time she be having sex with somebody, she just, the way that her like craziness wants to kind of claw out, her anxiety and controlling tendencies like really starts to flare up, you know. Okay, let's get into Chelley and Ace. I personally really like them together. I think that they were one of the OG couples where I was like, even though Ace was playing real weird games in the beginning, which we'll get to him in a second, but we're gonna start off with Chelley. Again, she is a Virgo. Like I said when I referenced Huda, she's so grounded in who she is and what she's about, and I love Chelley. I think she's so precious and really funny. Like, she has such a great sense of humor, and again, everyone, and including the men, like, love being around her because she's very funny. She has a really great personality, very witty, very smart as well. You can really see that too. And again, like I said, in comparison to Huda, she does not have to emotionally regulate her. She can emotionally regulate herself. She does not need other people to kind of help her do that. She can have normal conversations with men that does not have to automatically result to something sexual. And again, there's this nice banter between her and everyone else that she kind of interacts with. And that's why I said I think Chelley is a really great example of how I see Virgo energy. They're just very grounded, and they're just very chill, very funny, can be a little goofy and out of pocket sometimes, but I personally really like it. Chelley is also a Gemini moon. Geminis are mutable signs, and I think that with her having a moon sign, like I mentioned with Jeremiah, you need to have someone where you can have like conversations with them. It's a nice banter, it's really fun, like you pique my interest, you excite me when it comes down to learning new things and all that kind of stuff. I also think that when she's dating in the real world, I feel like it's kind of easy for her to detach from people who are not serving her. Again, I think that's something that Huda could definitely learn from. It's like, if you're not serving me, I'm not going to chase you. I'm not going to put forth the effort if it's not worth it. And she does have her Venus in Libra. I kind of feel like for her having a Venus in Libra, she's in this place where, again, she is aesthetically pleasing. Like, she's so stunning. She looks like a Bratz doll. When it comes down to her connections, it does feel like, again, they're very balanced. But also, again, if someone is going to disrupt her peace, instead of trying to control the situation or manipulate the situation, she's just gonna let it be. Just let it go. Like, you were never for me, and I'm gonna keep it pushing. And I think that has definitely been her energy throughout this entire experience. She does have Mercury retrograde, I think in Virgo, if I'm not mistaken. Again, very poignant with her words, and it's so good. And she also has a lot of quotable moments. Like, if she made merch, I would be here for it. Like she said, you know, he think he Dora the Explorer or something, you know, when she was talking about Ace and how he wanted to explore all the bombshells that came into that goddamn house. And then there was another conversation where she was like, I didn't know ponies were real. And it's like, what are you talking it was just so random, but it was hilarious. Like, she's just so funny, the way that her mind works and, you know, computes. Also, because retrograde is about turning inward, it makes me think of that moment with Huda and how Huda wanted to have a conversation with her, but Chelley was like, you know what, I need to reflect on how I feel right now, because I don't want to say anything that I don't want to say. And I think that was her taking her time. Mercury and Virgo, let me make sure that I can fully articulate how I'm feeling so that you fully understand, even if, you know, Huda probably doesn't want to understand anyway, but that's her problem. And again, that was a very mature way of kind of dealing with that situation. So also, Chelley and Olandria are sister signs technically, or sibling signs, because Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini, which Olandria is a Gemini. We'll get into Olandria in a second, but I think that also explains why they're so close. Because it's like they're banter with one another, the way they I don't know, I just love their connection with one another. So I'm like, even if they're single in the real world or whatever happens with their connections, I feel like them together, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna be just fine. And I need Meg Thee Stallion and Rihanna. They need to be Savage Fenty, Meg Thee Stallion wear, whatever the, like, I need them in all the ads, all the campaigns. I feel like they're already locked in, but I'm just putting this out into the universe that we need to see it and we want to see it. So, all right, so let's get into Ace. So Ace is very funny. I think he's absolutely hilarious when he's not trying to control everything. And I knew Ace because he was like teaching people from different parts of the world how to dance.
Stay still. Move nahi karna. Step. Right. What did you just say?
He has also done little dance classes for women who were battling cancer, and they really appreciated that. It was really beautiful. Kids with Down syndrome, and also autistic kids as well. And again, he does have his Jupiter in Leo. Jupiter representing expansion or things that are foreign, things that are like outside of your typical normal bubble. And Leo being fun, children, and also helping people to build their confidence. I think that, and just bringing joy to their lives. I think that's a very beautiful aspect of Ace, and I really, really like that. However, again, we'll get into some of his controlling nature a little bit more in a second, but he is very popular even within the house. For the most part, a lot of the people really do enjoy him. He is a performer and he is a leader. Like the way that he can like in the way that Huda tries to like over strategize, I feel like he's just like, this is what I want to do. People will follow suit or not. You know, again, he was playing some interesting games in the beginning, but again, it was entertaining, which is very Leo. So also speaking from experience, I have dated a Leo, and so they consistently needs like words of validation and words of affirmation, and I think that Ace does really enjoy that from Chelley, because he's definitely kind of said that a few times. Again, Leos like to be praised for what they do. Sometimes they kind of prefer like a big grand gesture, but sometimes it's like they have a heart. They don't feel like it's enough if it's not like big and grand. But just if you are to date a Leo, again, speaking from personal experience, you're going to have to give them those words of affirmation quite often. They really, really do need that. Because even though for the most part, Leos are very confident in who they are, they're very, very sensitive. Like it doesn't take too much to kind of bruise that ego, Leo, or their pride. So just keep that in mind. Also, Leo does represent romance, so it makes complete sense because he would go above and beyond trying to plan these little dates for Chelley. He also helped a lot of the guys in the villa plan dates for their ladies too. So I just thought that was really, it's so interesting seeing like zodiac signs and their expressions in the real world. Also, again, like I said, Leos sometimes like to be praised and sometimes worshipped. Like they're very king energy, and so he did want in the beginning for Chelley to chase him, and even off rip, Chelley was like, nah baby, like I'm not about to do that, and kind of like pointing out to him that sometimes there were moments where he was being a bit superficial. I think that definitely points to his Venus in Libra. Like I said, Libra can be very superficial. I think that it can be like a protection mechanism, but again, that's not a great way to be in your relationships. But again, I do think that because Chelley was like, you don't even know anything about me, you haven't even asked me questions. And this was like in the first week, it was like, we have all these conversations, but like, let's actually, if you want to get to know me, ask questions, like let's get into it. And I think with Libras or people who like to be very superficial or keep things surface level, like I said, I think it's a protection mechanism, because it's like, if we don't have deep conversations, I won't get attached. And I think that's a very interesting thing there. So, and I also think that Ace did get humbled, because again, he was trying to get Chelley to chase him. She was like, nah baby, we're not about to do that. And then Chelley actually had like another romantic interest, which was Chris. Ace was confused because he was like, you're into this person, and and it was like, baby, and again, Ace and his controlling behaviors, it's like, you set these expectations, you made the rules because you wanted to control the dynamic, you wanted to explore. Chelley sat back and let you explore. Now that she has an actual connection with someone else that actually is a threat to you, because Austin was not a threat to him, let's keep it 100. Now it's like, it's an issue, and I think that definitely did kind of hurt him. But it's like, and Chelley was like, no, like this is what you wanted, now it's an issue that I get to do the same thing that you were doing this entire time. So again, he definitely got humbled in that moment, but I think that he definitely did put in the effort. I will say that he definitely did put in the effort in comparison to Chris, who kind of just fell back to Huda as the safe option. He does have Mercury in Virgo. He is a really great communicator. Like, I remember there was a conversation early on where he talked about Huda, and he was like, Huda does not like to have the finger pointed at her. There's also other moments where he was very spot on with how he, like, his analysis of specific people and their connection and stuff like that. But again, he is a really great communicator. I do think sometimes he does deflect, which is a bit annoying, especially like in an argument, because Leos, again, speaking from experience, they want to win. They really, really want to win. And it's like, this is not a competition. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you so we can fix this issue. It's not a tit for tat. It's not like, I don't want that. Like, I just want to fix this situation that we're talking about right now. So that's something that Ace will definitely have to work on, because everything does not have to be a competition, and it's really annoying to feel that you have to be in that space all the time. And again, Ace also does have a lot of quotable moments with that Mercury in Virgo.
And then the third one is cooking up. We'll see if I get lucky tonight. I'm running a tight shift around here, okay? So it ain't gonna be no back talk. No.
Calm.
The parents are very, the kids are very calm around me. Your mama's gonna kill me, please.
She said it was a nightmare. Anyway, she stuck it.
I'm coming to get the bonnet, okay?
You are ripping it off the bonnet of the baby. The baby is trying to sleep.
I need to do that for my son.
You better take your ass to the store like everybody else around here.
The men are downstairs being men. Finally.
I swear, if any of y'all babies wake my baby up, I'm crying.
If any baby start crying, get the fuck out.
Stop cursing in front of the babies.
I'm sorry.
Please don't wake up your brother. I just put him to sleep. Okay, now you being dramatic. You being dramatic. And now you done woke up your brother. You wanna play with my phone? Look, here. Take a picture.
Yeah, I'm gonna go crazy. And
hold on, this is not something my daughter should be hearing.
no, oh shit. Oh, sorry.
My son can hear it.
The son can hear it. Ace?
Marcel is being annoying.
Whoa!
Also, Chelley and Ace do have Venus in Libra. I think both of them really balance each other out. Like, aesthetically, I feel like in a relationship level, there is a lot of balance there. I do feel like there is still a bit more work to be done. But I actually really do enjoy their connection. So I'm curious to see if they continue things outside of the villa. And like I said, he does have a Mars in Leo, similar to Huda. He can be very blinded by the competition. Again, that really bites him in the ass in a lot of different challenges and stuff that they've done. Also, I thought it was interesting that in older, previous episodes, he would have his arms like crossed over his chest. Your chest is your heart space, and Leo rules the heart space. And so it's like literally your body language is like guarding your heart. And that's why I said earlier, like his Venus in Libra, typically Libra placements sometimes will be very superficial. I feel like Leos could probably, kind of do the same thing. Like, they're very flashy and come out with all this confidence and stuff like that. And it can definitely be perceived as superficial, but like you can tell over time that he really like loosened up, started to ask more personal questions when it came down to Chelley, and also started to, reciprocate that same vulnerability. And again, like I said, with the Mars and Leo and the competition, it's like he thought that he could kind of coast through this contest as if it was like a regular game, but it's like, no, you actually have to make a connection and be vulnerable with people to get to know them and stuff like that. So he has a bit of growing up to do, no pun intended, but I don't know, I'm enjoying their connection blossom. So next up we have Olandria and Taylor. Let's get into my fave first. So Olandria is a Mercury in Taurus, and she is a Gemini as well, like I spoke about earlier with Chelley. So with Mercury, your communication style, Taurus is very smooth, very soothing. It's just, I love the way she kind of communicates with people. Like, she's very soft, and again, she has a very like sensual voice, but with like a country twang to it. So I love Olandria so much. Like, she's such like a big sister. She's such like a beautiful presence in the villa. Again, with Mercury and Taurus having a very grounded mindset, sometimes Taurus can be a bit fixated on a specific thing because it's a fixed sign. Like, when you think about a bull, realistically, you can't make a bull do a goddamn thing. Like, you really have to like have that connection with them in order to kind of steer them in the right direction. And so I do feel like she takes a lot of time to kind of like contemplate things and get comfortable, but once she does, it's really beautiful to see. Again, like I said, she's a Gemini sun and a Gemini Mars. She does communicate very well with people. Geminis love to talk to people, get to know people, really from all walks of life. And for the most part, I think she gets along with everybody in the villa. And so Gemini is very much like sibling energy, and I think that's so beautiful and it makes complete sense why everybody just really adores her. But I do feel like she has a Cancer moon because she is so nurturing, and Cancer gives like mother energy too. So I think that makes sense because everyone kind of goes to her for advice. They feel comfortable asking her for advice. And again, she is the older sister, you know, like a mother from a young age. With her Gemini and having a Cancer moon, I feel like she can really articulate what she's feeling, but like intuitively know what needs to be said depending on the situation. And then she does have her Venus in Aries. It feels as if she does have a very like effortless sex appeal. Like she's just really, like she looks like a cat with her cheekbones and everything like that. Like she looks so like feline. And she also does have a very comforting but dominant personality in a very beautiful way. And because of this, I'm kind of wondering if she has a hard time being pursued or even knowing what that looks like. But also her Venus squares her moon, so I kind of feel like she has a hard time knowing or allowing people to really nurture her, because again, she was the older sibling, so sometimes it's like I have always had to take care of other people, so having someone take care of me is very foreign. So that's a possibility for her. But also like in positions where she feels like she has to prove her worth, Venus, to other people by nurturing them. So that's something that I feel like probably does come up a lot often, very often in her connections. Again, not 100%, but now let's get into Taylor. I'm glad he's gone. I did feel bad for Clark because they just kind of like closed things off, and now this bitch is going home. But it was bound to happen. Taylor is a Gemini sun, Venus, moon, and Mars, which explains why he's very goofy. And he does come off like a younger brother. Gemini or Mercury in general does rule ages from 5 to 14. So if that, you know, connects anything. Taylor is older than Ace, but Ace gives big bro vibes. So I think that was very funny how, you know, their dynamic was and how his Gemini energy kind of expressed itself. Okay, so Taylor and Olandria. I'm kind of feel like production really cut and screwed their moments together because it feel like they were trying to make Olandria look delusional, and something was just off that entire like this entire season. It just felt off to me because it's like, why do you feel so strongly about this person and it feels like he's not putting forth any effort? So I'm like, I didn't know what was going on. And even the narrator, I think his name is Ian, talked about how he genuinely thought that they were going to make it to the end, like, and out of the villa, have their farm, 5 babies, a couple cows and chickens and all that. So it was very interesting. And then all the ladies' faces when it came down to the recoupling, and he chose Clark. So something is missing from that. And again, she felt so angry when it was that stand on business challenge. I felt like it really highlighted that there was things missing, even though production tried to tweak it like Olandria was delusional. Like, nah, baby, I don't know, I need details. I don't know what's going on. However, looking at their charts, he has his Mercury in Cancer. So the thing about this placement is that intuitively Cancer knows how to communicate their emotions, but also knows how to communicate based on what they're intuitively sensing around them. And again, Gemini is also a shapeshifter, and a trickster too. So based on what everyone was saying, even people who got eliminated and kicked out of the villa, they were like, yeah, we thought that Taylor like genuinely liked Olandria. Like they genuinely also were shocked by this. And so it's just crazy. And it just shows that Taylor was doing whatever was necessary to be what Olandria wanted, to keep her as a placeholder. People were saying Taylor during the mailbox challenge, like he really stood on business. No, the fuck he didn't. That nigga didn't stand on shit. Like he literally just exposed what I just said, that he was using Olandria for a placeholder until what he wanted came into the villa. And again, I don't know why he played this game like that, but that was just so upsetting. It was really, really upsetting. And you could see how angry she was, and people saying that Olandria embarrassed herself. And I'm like, something's not right. We're missing a huge chunk of information. And again, the thing was, he didn't stand on shit, because it's like when they had a conversation after the recoupling, when he chose Clark the first time, he was like, I still want to pursue you. Why would you still pursue her when you don't really have a romantic interest? Like, it's just confusing. And I don't really know what that was about. I don't know if he was trying to continue to keep Olandria in his back pocket, but it was like, you could have had a conversation with her and let her go. Like, that was so like cold-blooded of Taylor to do, and it was so upsetting. And again, in bringing it back to him having her Mercury in Cancer, her potentially having her moon in Cancer, it's like emotionally, it feels as if, intuitively, he knew what to say to her in order to like continue to nurture that connection, or to think that he's nurturing that connection. And again, I'm like, you really just kind of played in her face, and it was so off-putting and really heartbreaking. Like, I really felt for Olandria at that moment. Okay, so let's get into Nic and Cierra. So Nic is a Pisces sun, and so I've kind of talked about Piscean energy a little bit, but in my personal experience, Pisces men just be lying for no reason. Pisces energy in general, it's just really funny, because there was a guy that I dated. I kind of was like, I'm not seeing nobody. I really do enjoy our time together. Are you interested in kind of doing something a little bit more serious, or moving to a more like committed relationship? And so he said yes, but his body language said something completely different. And I'm like, you could have just been honest. But there were so many moments like that, and I'm like, you know what? It's annoying. So I do understand that for real, but it is what it is. And again, Pisces is the fish. So if there's any time where they feel like you might restrict their freedom, they're gonna kind of squirm away. But it's like, again, you also can be honest. But I kind of feel like Nic felt this way with Cierra, because there's so many conversations that they had, and she was like, I would like for you to make a decision. There's no rush. Or I would like to be closed off, but there's no rush. But it was like she kept doing stuff like that, and so I think that it made him very uneasy. And to be honest, we'll get into Cierra's tea in just a minute, but she also is a Libra, and I said quite a few times during this video that I think that Libra placements can be very pick-me-ish. What she would do is have sex with him. It would kind of fog up his mind a little bit. He would be in the fantasy. Pisces does represent like bed pleasures, so it makes sense. She was really trying to pressure him into making a decision, but I think he just couldn't do it. Like, his body would not let him do it. Also, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, which represents like foreign or exotic things. I remember from jump, Nic said that he does not have a type, which I do believe is very true. I think anyone who is very beautiful, he can have a great conversation and very good banter with. I think he really does enjoy or wants to get to know. But I am curious if after this experience on Love Island, if he will kind of not, swan dive into a sexual connection before actually getting to know the person, because it did kind of fuck him up in the long run. He has a Mercury in Aquarius, and I think Aquarius energy in general has such a really interesting sense of humor, and I absolutely love it.
I'm a mommy.
Mommy?
I'm a mom.
Mamacita.
No, I'm a mommy.
A mom of what? A dog?
I have a daughter.
Like in real life?
Yeah.
And so he also does have his Venus retrograde in Aries. I just think that he really desires someone who does have a strong personality, like Olandria, which we will get into in a second. I think that's completely the opposite of Cierra. I think, again, we'll get into her now, actually. Cierra is a Libra sun and moon. Again, Libras always give me pick-me energy. I don't know what it is. It always happens, and you can see it. Like, again, and also there was like a bit of a competitive vibe to Cierra too, because she really wanted to get on the show. She studied the show very heavily, so there's a lot going on there. And again, she really gave off like bad bitch vibes, but her mask did slip, kind of towards the end. So, and then also she comes off as like the cool girl. It's like she wants balance and harmony so much that it almost like manifests as control. Like she's trying to control how she's being perceived in order to kind of control how the other one reacts and trying to make sure that everybody's good. You know, it's too PR, and it's annoying because it doesn't feel authentic. Like, I want you to be yourself in this moment. And it's very similar to like Kim Kardashian, where she's hyper aware of where the cameras are, very much like she's more concerned with money, aesthetics, the attention, and the optics of the situation rather than, you know, than being authentic. And again, trying to control how people perceive her. The stuff that led up to her getting kicked off the show, I thought that it was interesting, again, because she's Libra, and like I said, aesthetics, the optics, the attention, the way that she studied the show before she came on, allegedly, that's what it was giving. Again, Libras are so fixated on that kind of stuff. And so for her complete facade to be just like shredded, I'm sure that has to be like heartbreaking. So I don't know what she's going through, but I hope that people are like remove all the knives from the home, that kind of vibe. So you know. And again, sometimes it's not really fun to be with people who are like overly agreeable PR answers all the time, and it's very like people pleasing. And again, it's like manipulating the situation or the person to like have a very specific reaction or response or vision of what, you know, you want them to think of you. Like it's weird. It's a lot of mental gymnastics. And Libra also represents I'm sorry I got excited. Libra also represents open enemies. And I feel like ever since, perfect example. When Olandria told Cierra about the kiss, she was like, oh, I'm glad it was you. I'm glad, you know, it's okay. I think that she was actually very upset about that. But I also am like, did she not view Olandria as a threat in that situation? I don't know. But then when Cierra talks to Iris later that day, Iris was like, no, that's not cool. And it felt like because Iris was upset about it, she was like, oh no, I have permission to be upset about this thing now. You know, I won't seem so bad because I'm upset about this thing. And even she brought it up, we will get to this in a second, she brought up in a challenge, or it was like before a challenge, and she was like, I don't want you kissing any other girls. Nick said bet. We gonna get to that in a second. But anyway, so Nick, I did kind of feel like he was a bit annoyed that Cierra was so agreeable. That's why I feel like with his Venus and Aries, even though it is retrograde, I feel like he does want someone who is very direct and they communicate how they feel and stuff like that. And he also has his Moon and Mars trying his Venus and Aries. Like, he really needs whoever he's with to be very truthful and direct, like I said, about how they feel, so that he can be of service. He is a Pisces, and Pisces loves to be of service to people. So that's what that's giving. Moon and Mars is in Sag, again, seeking the truth. Okay, let's get into NicOlandria. I am NicOlandria Hive. I can't help it. I think I've been swallowed up. Swallowed up by the fantasy and the delusion. And here we are, NicOlandria in 5. So it's just really beautiful to see. It feels like a very stereotypical, like, beautiful rom-com, like paying attention to the body language, the yearning, the way that he was like fighting for Olandria to stay in the house when it was like, I think it was their first recoupling after Casa Amor, and he was like, Clark, you just got here. We need to get Olandria back in this house. So it was just so funny, but like, oh my god, it was hilarious. It's just like, we did it, Joe. We did it, Joe. We did it. We made it happen. We made it happen. Side note, NicOlandria stands, our work is not done. We manifested some beautiful shit this season, and I need us to aim for like world peace, you know, healthcare. I don't know what we need to go for next, but we need to have like a whole like seance or some shit. I don't know what we need to do, but we need to do it. We need to do it. The work is not done. I was gonna say this in the Nick and Cierra segment, but I kind of wanted to wait until now. So there's been so many like beautiful threads and like beautiful connection with Nick and Olandria. They've always had a really great connection with one another, like great banter. And so there was a moment where Nick was talking to Cierra, and he was talking about how a lot of people think that like lions are the king of the jungle, and he was like, nah, real talk, is actually the hippos, because they're very dangerous and they're kind of the underdogs. And so later on, I think this was episode 30 or 31, when Nick and Olandria got to recouple, and so they were having a conversation. Olandria was like, I really like Auburn, and he was like, that's weird, it's gross. And so she was like, I love them because they are the underdogs. And I just, like, Tyler Perry couldn't do a better job. This actually, Jesse Wu said this shit. Some of the couples, like Ace and Chelley, Nic and Olandria, something about this feels like Issa Rae type of banter, humor, connect. Like, it just feels like this. It's so good. And the reason why I was gonna bring it up with Nic earlier is because he has his Mercury in Aquarius, and Aquarius is the underdog. It's someone that is like the outcast. So he loves that type of energy, and he really roots for that. So it's just, I thought that was such an interesting thread. And also, so I think this is one of those moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely being delusional, but why not? So when in your birth chart, a lot of people think that in a woman's chart or someone with more feminine energy, that Mars shows who your potential partner will be if you're looking for someone with a more dominant masculine energy. However, if you're looking for marriage, Jupiter is going to be that sign. Olandria has Jupiter in Pisces. Pisces is Nic's sun sign. I don't know. Please let me know in the comments if I'm delusional or if you could see it. I don't know. But again, like I said, Jupiter represents your husband in your birth chart. So Nic being a Pisces can represent shapeshifter. When you think about fish, they kind of, the way they move. And also Pisces can mimic other people, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. Like when you're trying to be empathetic, you can mimic that person's energy to kind of understand where they're coming from. But then there's also mimicry where it could be something toxic. But I feel like they have something very healthy. But the reason why I bring this up is because there was so many times where you would see Nic kind of dressing up as people that Olandria was interested in, and I thought that was very funny. And then during the heart rate challenge, I referenced this earlier, open enemies, Libra, the way that Cierra was like, I don't want you kissing anybody in the challenge. Nic said bet. So the way that Nic put Olandria's whole ass motherfucking foot in his mouth was so funny to me. Like, it was so funny. Even Olandria was like clutching she was clutching her pearls so much. But also Pisces represents feet, so oh my god, it's just hilarious. It's so funny. I love how he can bring out a more playful side of her, and he can bring out a bit more of a serious side of her. Like, he did say that she brings the man out of me, you know, and I think that's so beautiful. Like, he really is so devoted. That's a very Piscean and Venusian type of energy. Like, he's so devoted to making sure that he can be the man that she needs and deserves. And so I don't know what's going to happen to them outside of the villa. I'm honestly really wishing them the best. I really enjoy what I've seen thus far. It seems like they do have a really beautiful and quirky, you know, sort of connection. So I love it. Also, you know what? We'll get to this in a second. But I think that also Nic gives very like sub energy. If you know, you know. He did say that he likes a more of a like strong personality in the women that he's dating. He does like to be of service. I don't know. But it just, again, he's so intentional. He's so attentive. Like, there was one conversation where he was having with Olandria, and he was like, okay, so what do you need from Taylor to feel secure? And she was like, I just need reassurance. I just need open communication. And so he listened to that, but in reality, he was listening for himself. So immediately after asking that question, she gave her answer. And so he gave her reassurance of how he was feeling, you know, about her. And I thought that was really beautiful. I don't know if Olandria caught that in that moment, but I love it. So my final thoughts from this season: a lot of these people do need therapy. Specifically Huda. Cierra's gonna need therapy too. Again, like I said, I don't condone what she did, but I also don't agree with sending people death threats. I think that's fucking insane. I think people really need to chill out. I understand that like parasocial relationships and stuff like that, but I don't think that it should lead to that. So also, I really want to highlight the fact that when men are genuinely interested in you, they will be very attentive and they will be very intentional to show you that they like you. Again, Ace was playing games, but I think he still always tried to reassure Chelley and do these very grand gestures and stuff like that. Even Chelley, you know, has been doing more because it's like, okay, you're finally being serious about our connection. You have Nic and Olandria where he's like, she's gonna get them goddamn crispy edges on them fucking pancakes. And even after, I think it was either the recoupling or it was when Taylor and Clark left, I can't remember, but he was like in the kitchen making her a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, and he put like a little smiley face on the plate, like he's just so cute. But I think that's a very important thing to really notice. I think a lot of, like, I feel like Ace kind of exhibited this in the beginning, like men will want you to be in their back pocket until they say that they're ready. And I think Chelley was a great example of like, nah baby, I'm gonna do what I want, and you're going to have to like fight for my attention. You're gonna have to go to war in order for me to choose you in the end. And again, I think that was a really great. So again, I want people, when it comes down to relationships, whether it be friendships, relationships, business partnerships, be very intentional about who you're choosing, who you're around, all these other things. I think that's very important. I said this in like a previous astrology video. It might have been when Venus was in Taurus, that's what it was. And I said that pick-me's are like a detriment to the environment, and I stand by that. I think this is the perfect example of how like pick-me's never get what they want. I think it's an instant gratification thing, but in the long run, you're still lonely, you're still feeling insecure, you're still trying to fight for this person's attention and time and all that, and it's just like it's just not good. So, but yeah, I'm curious to see what happens in the finale. I'm also excited to see what happens during that reunion. Whew, it's gonna be real hot and spicy. So please comment down below who you think will win this season of Love Island, who's gonna win that 100K. And also, if you have any of these placements, please comment down below. I would kind of love to hear your experience, or if you have these placements, or if you've experienced people with these placements. I would really love to know. I think it's so interesting to kind of see what happens behind the surface. So thank you for spending this time with me, and if you would like to book a reading, the link is going to be down below, and I can help you dissect your own chart and we can see what's going on. If you have someone else's chart, we can look at them together and see maybe if this person is a good fit for you or not. So let's take a look at it. But until then, I love you, you are loved, you deserve love, and until next time, bye.